everybody. Welcome back to Kavanaugh's Corner. Today on the channel we're going to do a review of a film here that I have loved for a long time. It's probably my favorite Oliver Stone film. All the actors, I mean, there are so many fantastic actors that are in this movie. All give great performances. Kevin Costner in the lead. You got Sissy Spacek, Tommy Lee Jones, John Candy is in this, Joe Pesci, Michael Rooker plays an incredible part in this movie. I mean, the cast list goes on and on. Jack Lemmon is in this. We got Gary Oldman in this. I mean, just so many fantastic actors and actresses. And, you know, this movie is extremely controversial. And I was actually wondering if I was going to review this for the channel or not. Because I do enjoy this movie, even though I don't buy into everything that this movie talks about, because this movie does delve into conspiracy theory, and you know, the entire movie is one conspiracy theory after another, and I love this film, but I watch it as a film and not as the spoken word, or I don't take it as gospel, I should say. This is definitely a great and really well-made film, but it's also, you have to kind of delouse what's real and what's not. And that is, of course, JFK. This is Oliver Stone's just epic film about the conspiracy theories surrounding the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. And with the Kennedy assassination now 60 years on this year, I thought it was really interesting that they would put this movie out on 4K. This is a release from Shout Factory. This is on their Shout Select line. It's number 153, as you can see on the spine there. And this movie is just such a monumental film. I mean, really, nobody had really made a film delving into the types of things that this movie delves into. There was a movie called Executive Action that I think came out in the 70s with Burt Lancaster, which is a fascinating film, but I always found it to be extraordinarily boring and very straightforward, and just kind of telling you this one take on what could have been what happened with the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And this movie here follows Kevin Costner's character, a real guy, a real man, Jim Garrison, who is pretty much the only person to take who he thought was a co-conspirator to court. Now, of course, real life and this movie are two very, very different stories. And, you know, the death of John F. Kennedy was something that really affected this country, and it's still felt to this day. And a lot of people wonder, you know, what could have been. And sadly, we'll never know. We'll never know what President Kennedy would have done with the rest of his time in office if he was reelected. And this movie is just 3 hours of just pure conspiracy theory, but the way it's done is so unbelievably interesting. The cinematography in this film is incredible. Oliver Stone's direction is dynamic, and it's pretty much a flawlessly directed film. So today on the channel, we're going to be reviewing this new box set from Shout Factory. It's an epic 4-disc set. I'm going to go over all the contents. We're going to talk about the picture quality of the new 4K transfer, the audio quality, the special features, and all the other added stuff that's included in this set. This is going to be probably a longer video than normal because there's a lot of stuff to go over in here, but I hope you enjoy. So first and foremost, the first disc in this set, I'm going to take it out here so you guys can see it. The first disc in this set is, of course, the 4K disc. Now, this is an all-new 4K scan done in 2023, done this year, of the director's cut of the film. This is the 4K disc here, and this is the standard Blu-ray on the other side. Now, the director's cut of this film is my preferred cut. It is definitely a longer film. This one is 205 minutes. So that puts it just at about 3.5 hours. And I did watch this in one sitting. I just buckled up, put it on, and I hadn't seen this movie in quite a few years, so it was kind of like re-experiencing it for the first time. But they did do a new 4K scan of the original camera negative, and it is in Dolby Vision. So the Dolby Vision HDR on this is incredible. Just jumping right into the picture quality of this disc here. That new transfer is really something to look at. This movie, the way they shot this film, they used a ton of different formats. I mean, they shot an 8mm film, 16mm, 35mm, and then they also did work in black and white and color. So the movie switches a lot between black and white and color. It goes back and forth quite a lot. And I gotta say, I was really interested in seeing this film mainly because I wanted to see what this movie looked like in a higher picture quality, because I had only seen it on Blu-ray previously, and that Blu-ray was not too bad, but I always thought that the picture was very soft at times. That is not the case with this new 4K disc. The picture quality on this disc is incredible. Detail level is now through the roof. The picture is sharp, and when it does change to those black and white moments, the black and white is handled very well. The color portions of it look amazing. The colors now are much more vibrant and lifelike than they were before. Skin tones are very accurate. Reds and blues really just pop at you now. And again, the one thing I do like about this disc is that they did not oversaturate the colors. That does happen from time to time. I think movie studios now are getting much better at this. Kino Lorber is really good at keeping a picture looking very natural, and they did that as well with this Shout Factory release. I think the picture quality on this is just tuned just right. There are some darker scenes where black levels, I wouldn't say they're perfect, but they are really, really good. Those black and white scenes now are a marvel to look at. The overblown whites and everything, it's done very purposefully to give it a very specific look. But the black levels in the black and white scenes are really, really well done, in my opinion. I think they looked fantastic. They were able to balance the shades of black now so much better. And I've mentioned this before in other movies that I've reviewed that are strictly black and white. For instance, like Casablanca, The Maltese Falcon, Citizen Kane was another one that did that really well. But when you have that black and white film, a lot of things that people don't realize is that there is more shade. There's more shade than just one shade of black when it comes to black and white film. There are more shades of white, there are shades of gray, and it's not something we could ever see before, because the HDR now that we have at our fingertips now on these discs can differentiate those shades better, so you have more, you have a wider color palette than you did before, and it's kind of deceiving to just say black and white now, because you do see more than just one shade of white, one shade of black. There's all these different shades. And this disc here did a pretty good job of differentiating those in those scenes where they are just black and white. They look better than ever. And the color scenes are also just amazing. Now, there's more color than black and white in this film, but those color scenes are gorgeous to look at. The daytime scenes that are set in New Orleans, where most of this film takes place, really look amazing now. There are so many different shades of colors, the greens, the browns, the blues, the reds and yellows, and all these other colors that you see now are just so beautiful. There is a really poignant scene when Kevin Costner is standing in front of the eternal flame of John F. Kennedy, which is an amazing thing to see. If you've ever been to Arlington in Virginia, the Arlington Cemetery there, that is really something to witness. And the flame now just has this beautiful orangey red kind of color, and it looks like that in real life. When you're standing there with your own eyes looking at it, it looks just like it looks in this film. It's so lifelike. It's a shockingly great picture. And the other thing I wanted to mention about the picture quality on this disc, besides the details and colors, is that grain in this film is intact. There is a lot of film grain in this, and it differentiates depending on the scene. So the scenes that were shot in 8mm are a little more grainy than the scenes that are shot in 16mm and 35mm, and vice versa. There's all different types of grain structures in this. And I think Shout Factory did a really good job of mitigating the grain to the point where it was not distracting, but it definitely gave the picture some depth, and it kept it that filmic look that this movie has. They never used any sort of heavy DNR that I could see to make it so everybody was just very waxy, and you didn't see the face details and things like that that other movies have made the mistake of doing. So thankfully, they did a really good job with the grain structure in this film. Again, it is pretty heavy at times, depending on the scene. But again, that is the negative of the film. When you blow up an 8mm frame to a 35mm negative, you are going to have that grain expand as well. And so there is moments of that. If you do not like film grain, you are not going to like this disc. But I never found it to be heavily distracting. You just have to understand the mechanics of what goes into expanding teeny tiny little film and putting it on a negative that is much, much bigger. And that's kind of what happens in that optical process. So it is really well done. The picture is a marvel to look at. That Dolby Vision HDR on this is phenomenal. So really, really great job, Shout Factory, on doing the new transfer on this. They did a phenomenal job. It's just amazing work. Now, for the audio quality on this, that is a different story. And this was something that I was really surprised by. The audio quality on this is a very, very much a mixed bag, in my opinion. This 4K disc comes with a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 and a DTS HD Master Audio 2.0, so the original stereo that the movie was released in. And first and foremost, I want to say I listened to a good chunk of the movie in 5.1 first. And the 5.1, I have to say, is lackluster at best. So for some reason, in a movie that is extremely dialogue heavy, the audio of this film is set up in a way where the dialogue is all in the front speakers, and there are many times throughout the film where the music is in the back speakers. Now, the way I have my home theater set up, I am watching it not far from the back speakers. So the seats that I sit in are, I want to say, a couple feet from the back speakers. And those are some pretty good back speakers. They're nothing special, but they're pretty solid back speakers. When John Williams' score comes on in certain scenes, I had trouble hearing what was going on in the film in front of me because the music is all coming from the back, on top of the dialogue and some of the music coming through the front speakers, along with the sound effects and things like that coming from the front. Now, there aren't a ton of sound effects in this film. There are some in certain scenes. Mostly, this is a talking heads type movie. This is a lot of people talking throughout the entirety of the film if you haven't seen this movie. And the biggest thing that I had to say was John Williams' score in this movie is amazing. I mean, his music, it starts up, I almost kind of like, what am I doing? Why am I saluting? It's such a patriotic sounding score. It's incredible. But when the speakers are right here and people are talking and you're trying to listen to this very important piece of dialogue and you got John Williams' score blaring from the back, it was not a pleasant experience, and it just didn't, it bugged the hell out of me. It really, really annoyed me. Most of the time, music is mixed in with the dialogue in the front. In this case, they kept it all in the back, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on with that. It was a very odd choice and one that I was not fond of. So I want to say about midway through the film, I switched it to the stereo. And the stereo track is phenomenal. I mean, the music is balanced perfectly. The dialogue is much easier to hear. It's much more balanced. Just everything about it was just so much better. And I have to say, if you are going to watch this film, I highly recommend listening to the original stereo that's on the 4K disc. Try the 5.1 if you're curious, but I really did not like the way they mixed it. It is one of the most perplexing audio mixes I have ever heard in my life. A very odd choice. I am not sure why that was done that way. I don't recall the previous Blu-ray having that audio mix. It may have. I honestly, it's been so long since I watched it. I do not recall. If you remember, please put it in the comments below. But for me, I did not like that. So I stuck with the original stereo, and that was a great track. That was a great audio track. And in my opinion, the best way to watch the film, since there is so much dialogue. To not be able to clearly hear that dialogue because you got the horn section over here in your left ear or your right ear, depending on where you're sitting. Not good. Not a good experience. The 4K disc also includes an audio commentary with Oliver Stone, who directed, produced, and co-wrote the film. So that's also on the 4K disc as well. Now, for the rest of this set, the second disc that's inside here also has the director's cut in that new remaster, just without the Dolby Vision, and that also has the same commentary with Oliver Stone. So that is included on the standard Blu-ray of the director's cut as well. Now, moving into the third disc here, which is in this here, this is the theatrical cut of the film. This is the 3-hour and 8-minute version of the film that is definitely, faster paced. They really had to trim the fat on it to get it to that 3 hours. But it's still a very entertaining watch. Again, I prefer the director's cut just because it has so much more to it. There's so many more scenes that are restored. There's a lot of other character beats that are restored. I prefer that one. But this is, again, it's a very well-made film. This cut here, now, there's a little controversy here that both versions were restored in 4K. When they originally announced this, they said that both versions were restored in 4K. Now, on the disc itself and on the box set here, they do not say anything about the film being restored in 4K. Now, on Shout Factory's website, it does say that this theatrical cut is also restored from the original negative in 4K. For some reason, they did not put that on the box or anything. I did not watch the entirety of the theatrical cut just because I did not have 6.5 hours to spare to review this, especially around the holidays, around Christmas time and everything. I just did not have the time. But I will say that the theatrical cut did look very good, if not just as good as the director's cut did on the standard Blu-ray. I did watch some of that as well, and it is a very, very good transfer of the theatrical cut on standard Blu-ray. I did watch it upscaled to 4K on my Blu-ray player. It looked very, very good. So if this is your preferred cut, you are not going to go wrong with this set. This new theatrical cut looks incredible, but it is nothing compared to the 4K disc. I will say that. That 4K disc is far and away the best this movie has ever looked. But if you are just looking for a nicer looking version of the theatrical cut, then this is good. And this also includes the audio commentary with Oliver Stone as well. So that is nice. Now for the fourth disc here, which is in this little case here, and I do like the fact they put 3 separate hard cases in like a hard, kind of like really hard cardboard box. I thought that was a really nice touch. This fourth disc is all of the special features, and there are quite a few new ones on this disc. There is a like a 20-something minute featurette interview with Oliver Stone talking about the film, talk about the making of the film and the real life things that happened after the film was released, the reaction to the film, things like that. It's an interesting featurette. Again, one thing you do have to keep in mind is that Oliver Stone is a hardcore conspiracy theorist, and he does believe that pretty much everything he put into this movie is true. So when you watch that featurette, just be ready, because he really believes everything that he put in this movie is real. And he, whether you believe it or not, that's your prerogative. That's your prerogative. But yeah, he really believes that. So it is what it is. I think he's an amazing director. Whether or not I agree with him on that is another story. But yeah, so that's an interesting thing. There is an interview with the editor, with one of the editors, Hank Corwin, which is a really cool interview where Hank talks about his relationship with Oliver Stone, and it's a fascinating interview because he talks about how he really didn't know any famous people before then, and he was kind of awestruck when he met Oliver Stone. He talks about their working relationship. That's an interesting one. There is a interview with co-producer Clayton Townsend on JFK, where he talks about, again, the making of the film, his part in the film. That's a really good interview. There's also a new interview with makeup effects artist Gordon J. Smith. I thought that was actually the most interesting one out of all the new ones, because Mr. Smith talks about how he actually made the full body cast of President Kennedy. And it is striking when you see it in the film, because it does look like a real body, and it's really, really eerie, and it scared the crap out of some of the actors on the set when they brought it in. But he reveals that he actually made it with his own money, because the producers didn't want to pay for a full body. They just wanted a head. And so they made a full body, and incredible stuff, and it's actually kind of comedic at times. So that's a great interview. And then there's an interview with cinematographer Robert Richardson about the making of the film and how they shot the film in all these different formats and everything. That's a really interesting interview as well. There are 55 minutes of deleted and extended scenes, including an alternate ending, and those can be viewed with or without director Oliver Stone's commentary. Very interesting stuff. His commentary on those scenes is really interesting. There is a featurette called Assassination Updated, which is a fairly older featurette talking about the real-life Kennedy assassination. And again, it goes into the theories that are mentioned in this film. And there is a little featurette talking about Mr. X, who is portrayed by the absolutely amazing Donald Sutherland in this film. He does a great job in this movie. And it talks about the real-life guy that Mr. X was based on. So that's an interesting one. There's also a still gallery and a theatrical trailer, which is really nice looking now. They definitely did some work on that theatrical trailer. It looks beautiful. So as a whole, what did I think of JFK, this new special edition here, this new collector's edition? I thought this was just an absolutely fantastic release. The movie has never looked better. Any cut of the film you watch on this is going to look incredible. My one gripe was that sound mix on the 4K. I really can't stress enough how bothersome it was to have that music right behind you while people are talking. It really sounds like you have like a full-piece orchestra in your ear and people are trying to talk to you. It's very, very distracting, or at least to me it was. That's the only gripe I had with it. Picture quality is amazing. The new special features are fantastic on that bonus Blu-ray there. I love this set. This is a great set. It's an awesome way to cap off the year in 4Ks. There have really been some amazing 4Ks this year, some that I didn't even get a chance to review here on the channel. But today I'm filming this on New Year's Eve, and I gotta say, this year has been an amazing year for me. It's been a lot of highs, a lot of lows. In my personal life, I had some really wild things happen to me this year. but I'm happy to be here, and I'm so thankful for all of you, and I'm so thankful that you come back to Kavanaugh's Corner, and our subscriber count is going higher and higher every day. So I really appreciate you guys subscribing. If you're not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button down below. It would mean the world to me. I'm really trying to grow this channel, and it's gone through a lot of growth this year, but I'm really aiming for the skies next year. I think we're really gonna do some amazing things on this channel. I have some really cool stuff planned, and I really hope you'll be there with me for it. So until next time, I just want to wish you all a very, very happy new year. Please stay safe and take it easy.